This is Felix. For a whole year, he's been the terror of his house, and maybe the entire neighborhood. He has been such a disobedient cat, destroying plates and flower vases in the house, stealing pie from his owners, scratching every furniture in the house with his claws and making them mad. One time he even used his claws to destroy their expensive curtains. Boy, were they mad. They have tried and tried to no avail to change him, but he wouldn't listen. One day, Felix's owner shared a curious tale that made the mischievous cat sit up straight. "Did you know," she said with a knowing smile, "Santa Claus keeps a special list called the Naughty List? It's where he writes down the names of all the naughty children and animals across the world. And those names, they don't get any presents delivered on Christmas Day." Felix's ears perked up, his whiskers twitching in alarm. No presents? That couldn't happen. This year, he'd been dreaming of one thing, a brand new, state-of-the-art toy called the Bionic Mouse. It wasn't just any toy. It darted, zigzagged, and even squeaked on its own, the perfect companion for Felix's wild chases. But now, his heart sank. Could Santa know about all the trouble he'd caused? The torn curtains, the stolen snacks, and the countless times he knocked over vases just for fun? Felix gulped. If he wanted that toy, he had to make a change. Determined to redeem himself, Felix decided that from that moment on, he'd be the best-behaved cat in the world. No more clawing at furniture or stealing treats. He'd purr sweetly, help around the house as much as a cat could, and be the epitome of good behavior. For the first time in his life, Felix was on a mission, not just to avoid the naughty list, but to prove that he truly deserved a visit from Santa Claus. And maybe, just maybe, come Christmas morning, the Bionic Mouse would finally be his. The days of December seemed to race by, and before Felix knew it, Christmas Eve had arrived. The house was aglow with the magic of the season, and Felix sat proudly near the Christmas tree, his emerald eyes fixed on the spot where Santa would surely leave his gift. He had dreamed of this moment for weeks, imagining the thrill of unwrapping the Bionic Mouse, the toy he'd been longing for all year. Determined not to miss Santa's arrival, Felix vowed to stay awake no matter what. Hours ticked by as he kept his vigil, the cozy warmth of the room and the soft glow of the tree lulling him into a daze. His eyelids grew heavier until, despite his best efforts, he was pulled into the comforting embrace of sleep. In his dream, Felix saw Santa Claus, larger than life, stepping into the living room with a hearty chuckle. For Felix, the Bionic Mouse, Santa declared, placing the gleaming toy beneath the tree. Felix's tail swished in delight as he imagined pouncing and chasing his dream toy. But just as he was about to grab it, a loud creak startled him awake. Felix's ears twitched as he heard the sound of the door creaking softly in the stillness of the night. Startled, he leapt to his feet and raced to the tree, his heart pounding with anticipation. But to his shock, there was no sign of his present. He pawed through the pile of gifts, hoping he had missed it, but the truth became clear. Santa hadn't brought him the Bionic Mouse. Confused and disappointed, Felix slumped down, his mind racing with questions. Why didn't Santa bring my gift? Did he forget? Or worse, am I still on the naughty list? As these thoughts swirled in his mind, Felix's keen eyes caught a movement outside the window. Peering through the frosty glass, he spotted a familiar figure in red climbing up toward the roof. Santa Claus himself. Felix's disappointment quickly gave way to determination. If Santa won't explain himself, I'll just have to ask him directly. Without a second thought, Felix bounded out of the house and, with surprising agility for a cat of his size, scrambled up to the rooftop. As he reached the top, the chilly night air nipping at his whiskers, Felix called out to the man in red, his voice a mix of frustration and hope. "Santa, why didn't you bring my present? I've been waiting all year for the Bionic Mouse." The rooftop scene was set, the stars twinkling above as Felix prepared to confront Santa Claus and uncover the truth behind his missing gift. Santa looked up from the tangled reins and spotted Felix bounding toward him, his whiskers twitching with frustration. With a warm chuckle, Santa said, "Oh, Felix, why are you shouting? What seems to be the problem?" Felix stopped a few paces away, his tail flicking with controlled agitation. "Why didn't you bring me my gift for Christmas?" he asked, his voice straining to stay calm. Santa sighed deeply, his kind eyes meeting Felix's. "Ah, that! Felix, I've been watching you, and I saw your efforts these past few days. It warmed my heart to see you trying." But Santa paused, his tone firm yet understanding. One week of good behavior doesn't erase a whole year of naughtiness. Felix's ears flattened, and his green eyes glimmered with frustration. "But I tried. Isn't that enough? Santa crouched down, his voice gentle but resolute. Sometimes, Felix, trying isn't enough. Real change comes from the heart, and it takes time. It's not about doing good for a few days. It's about becoming someone better. Now, Santa gestured to the reins beside him. My reins are tangled, and I could use some help. Will you lend a paw? Felix's fur bristled, his frustration boiling over. No, he snapped. Why should I help you when you didn't even bring me my gift? You're unfair and mean. With an angry flick of his tail, Felix stomped off to the far end of the roof, leaving Santa to fix the reins on his own. The bells on the sleigh jingled softly as Santa worked silently, the only sound in the frosty night. After a while, his voice broke the stillness, calm yet tinged with sadness. Felix, he said, turning toward the sulking cat, I had your gift with me, the bionic mouse you wanted so badly. It's here in my sack. Felix froze, his ears perking up, his heart raced with hope. Then why didn't you give it to me? He asked hesitantly. Santa smiled, though there was a hint of disappointment in his eyes. I only wanted to see if you truly changed, Felix. A gift isn't just about receiving, it's about deserving. But you haven't changed yet. Not fully. At least, not tonight. The words struck Felix like a bolt of lightning. He stared at Santa, his eyes wide with realization and regret. Santa climbed into his sleigh, adjusting the reins and glancing back at Felix. Maybe next Christmas you'll understand. Until then, goodbye, Felix. With a crack of the reins, the sleigh rose into the sky, leaving Felix standing on the roof, his heart heavy as he watched the sleigh disappear into the twinkling night. Felix sat down, his shoulders slumping as tears welled up in his eyes. He wasn't sad about the gift anymore. He was sad because he knew Santa was right. Quietly, Felix climbed down from the roof and slipped back into the warm house. That night, he curled up in his favorite spot, his mind replaying Santa's words. Tears rolled down his whiskered cheeks as he whispered to himself, I'll change, not for the gifts, but because it's the right thing to do. From that night onward, Felix was no longer the troublemaker everyone knew him to be. He stopped clawing at curtains and knocking over flower pots. He began sharing his food with stray cats, greeting the neighbors with friendly purrs, and even surprising his owner with affection and playful antics. The days turned into months, and Felix found that being kind wasn't just easy, it was rewarding. His owner praised him, the neighbors adored him, and even the other animals in the neighborhood began to warm up to him. Felix felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, happiness. As Christmas approached the next year, Felix didn't worry about gifts. On Christmas Eve, he curled up by the window, gazing at the stars with a peaceful smile. Maybe this year, he thought, I'll get my bionic mouse, but even if I don't, I'm okay with that. And under the starlit sky, Felix reflected on how far he'd come. He had learned that true happiness doesn't come from toys or presents, it comes from being the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.